The theater is unusually quiet as the small violinist steps onto the massive AGT stage, the instrument in their hands looking almost too large for their fragile frame. The lights dim slowly, wrapping the stage in a soft blue glow, and the audience leans forward with polite curiosity rather than expectation. Simon Cowell sits back in his chair, arms crossed, his face calm and unreadable, clearly unsure of what this moment will bring. The child takes a deep breath, closes their eyes, and raises the bow with a slight tremble that reveals both nerves and determination. Then it happens. One single note is played. It isn't loud or flashy, but it is pure, steady, and hauntingly beautiful. The sound floats through the air and seems to stop time itself. Conversations in the audience vanish, breaths are held, and even the judges remain completely still. That one note carries something deeper than technique, vulnerability, innocence, and a quiet kind of bravery. The camera cuts to Simon, whose expression subtly shifts. His eyebrows lift, his posture changes, and for the first time, he leans forward. The note lingers longer than expected, resonating through the hall and into the hearts of everyone listening. It feels personal, almost confessional, as if the child is speaking through the violin rather than playing it. When the bow finally lifts away, the silence that follows is just as powerful as the sound itself. In that brief pause, it becomes clear that this is not just the beginning of a performance, but the start of a moment that will be remembered long after the music ends. The silence left by the first note barely fades before movement stirs in the shadows behind the violinist. A second performer slowly steps forward, revealed by a soft wash of warm light, and the audience realizes this is not a solo after all. The child's posture straightens slightly, as if drawing courage from the presence beside them. When the duet begins, the sound deepens and expands, the new voice or instrument gently wrapping around the violin's fragile melody. It feels supportive rather than overpowering, like someone reaching out a steady hand. The camera shifts between the performers, capturing the contrast between the child's small focused movements and the calm confidence of the duet partner. Each phrase seems to answer the other, turning the music into a quiet conversation. The audience's initial surprise melts into fascination. Faces soften, eyes glisten, and the room grows warmer, emotionally and visually. At the judges' table, Simon Cowell leans forward now, his arms no longer crossed. His hand rises to his mouth, and his eyes remain fixed on the stage, no longer analyzing but listening. As the melody builds, the violinist's bow moves with more assurance, no longer trembling but flowing smoothly, guided by the shared rhythm. The duet transforms the performance from a simple moment into a story, one of trust, growth, and connection. It becomes clear that the child is not being carried by the music, but actively shaping it. By the end of the scene, the audience understands they are witnessing something rare, a young performer finding their voice in real time, supported by harmony rather than overshadowed by it. As the duet continues, the emotion in the room deepens and becomes almost tangible. The melody grows fuller, richer, and more confident, and the young violinist's movements now feel completely natural, as if the instrument has become an extension of their heart. Each stroke of the bow carries intention, and every note seems to rise higher than the last. The audience is no longer just listening, they are feeling every vibration, every pause, every swell of sound. Faces in the crowd tighten with emotion, and a few people can be seen quietly wiping their eyes. The camera cuts to the judges, capturing reactions that say more than words ever could. One judge presses a hand to their chest, another shakes their head in disbelief. Then the focus shifts to Simon Cowell. His expression has changed entirely. The skepticism that once defined his gaze is gone, replaced by genuine awe. His eyes shine under the stage lights, and his lips part slightly as if he wants to speak but knows the moment demands silence. He nods almost imperceptibly, acknowledging the power of what he's hearing. On stage, the violinist reaches an emotional passage that feels deeply personal, drawing out a note that trembles with honesty rather than fear. The duet partner follows perfectly, lifting the melody without stealing its soul. The music seems to wrap around the entire theater, uniting performer and audience in a shared emotional space. By the end of this scene, it's clear that the performance has crossed a line from impressive to unforgettable. The music begins to rise toward its most powerful moment, and the atmosphere inside the theater feels charged, as if everyone senses what is coming next. The young violinist leans slightly into the instrument, eyes closed once again, fully immersed in the sound they are creating. The bow moves with intensity now, pulling out a high, aching note that cuts straight through the room. It is no longer just beautiful, it is raw and overwhelming. The duet partner follows carefully, allowing the violin to lead, lifting the moment without breaking its fragile emotional balance. The audience reacts almost instinctively. Some people cover their mouths, others grip the armrests of their seats, afraid to move or breathe too loudly. Tears flow freely, not from sadness alone but from the release of something deeply human. The camera captures faces frozen in awe, then shifts to the judges. One of them is openly crying, another whispers, "Oh my God," under their breath. Simon Cowell blinks rapidly, his jaw tight, clearly fighting the emotion rising in his chest. As the violinist sustains the note, the sound seems to stretch time itself. The light on stage intensifies, golden beams cutting through the darkness as if spotlighting the emotional core of the performance. When the final note finally fades, it leaves behind a silence so heavy it feels sacred. No one claps yet. That brief, breathless pause says everything. This is the moment where the performance becomes legendary, etched permanently into the memory of everyone present. The silence breaks suddenly, as the audience erupts to its feet, the applause crashing through the theater like a wave. Cheers echo from every corner, growing louder and more emotional with each passing second. The young violinist lowers the instrument slowly, eyes wide in disbelief, clearly overwhelmed by the reaction. Their hands tremble again, but this time not from fear, only from the rush of what they have just created. The duet partner steps closer, offering a proud, reassuring smile as the crowd continues to roar. At the judges' table, Simon Cowell stands up, a rare and powerful gesture that immediately commands attention. His face is open now, unguarded, his eyes still shining as he looks toward the stage. When he speaks, his voice carries a softness that contrasts sharply with his usual sharp tone. He explains that the very first note changed everything, that it made him stop thinking and simply feel. The room grows quiet once more, hanging on every word. The child listens, struggling to hold back tears as Simon praises not just the talent, but the courage it took to stand alone and let that emotion be heard. Confetti begins to fall, catching the light as it drifts through the air, turning the stage into a dreamlike scene. The violinist smiles shyly, wiping their eyes, while the audience applauds again, even louder than before. In that moment, it becomes clear that this performance has done more than impress. It has transformed lives, leaving behind a memory that will live far beyond the stage.